Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool, from her she shed in her beautiful backyard. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
Like miners of old, on a search for pure gold, like ancient explorers, venture outside their borders. My heart is yearning to go somewhere new. I long to explore the depths of you, to explore the depths of you. Latitude, longitude, and every thought in between, to know you are and all we could be, the ways that you move, the dreams we could dream, to know all the depths of you. Like a ship out at sea, going where your current leads, like a poetic scholar. My thoughts long to wander, and this mind is burning to know something new. I long to explore the depths of you, to explore the depths of you. Dream to know all the depths of you.
Hi, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. It's Monday. Guess who else is here with me? That's right, Lieutenant Mark Taylor. All right, we're going to bring him in just a second. But first, I want to give you an update about something that I found out about North Carolina. So Friday, I believe it was, Yellow Bridge Gal. She is one of our followers on X. And then also, I guess she's a viewer. I hope so. If you watch it, Yellow Bridge Gal, hello. So she reached out and said, I spoke with the Ingalls corporate today. Ingles is the grocery store that had been in Swannanoa, North Carolina. So we'd been waiting to hear if they were going to rebuild. They were having a whole issue with mold. And so we were waiting to see what was going to go on. And so Jenica had said, look, this is the only grocery store that we had in Swannanoa. So anyways, long story short, Yellow Bridge Gal had spoken with Ingles corporate. And unfortunately, they're saying that they're going to have to tear the building down because that means that the whole thing is about somebody in the city has decided that everything needs to be built up 8 feet higher. So they're saying that the old store has to be torn down and then build a new one that's 8 foot higher, just like what Jenica's being told that they have to build their land up 8 feet in order to be able to build on it. So Ingles has decided to scrap the Swannanoa store and not rebuild. I don't even know what to tell you. I passed it on to Jenica, and all Jenica texted back was that she could cry right now. So I don't know what that looks like. I know that, obviously this is where we've been delivering groceries month after month, truckloads of groceries. And so we shall see. I will tell you though, that we are, it's a week from this Saturday. I am scheduled to go to the store and place the order for the next truckload. And so it'll be a week from Saturday. And then that following week, we'll be going back to Swannanoa, North Carolina with the truckload of groceries. So that'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that week. So we'll be here all this week and all next week. And then the following week, we'll be in North Carolina, making sure that they have supplies, love offerings, and groceries, have food. And that'll also be good timing because that'll make sure that the kids finish strong in the area with good lunches and stuff, food for lunches. So we'll make sure that they have plenty for that. Okay, so we just wanted to give you a heads up. I know it's not good news, but we told you we'd keep you posted as to what's going on. All right, so let's go on ahead and bring in Lieutenant Mark Taylor. So glad that he's with us today. He's been with us a lot of Mondays here lately. Hi, Lieutenant Mark Taylor.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's always an honor to be on the show.
Oh, it's great to have you here. All right, so we got a lot to cover today, so let's go on ahead and get started. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. The first one is this morning. I wanted to show this to you. Trump truthed out about the U.S. investment pledges. He's been talking about this really ever since he got elected. So big companies that are pledging a lot of money. In fact, I think this Hyundai $20 billion is the latest one that has been announced. So thought that was very interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of good big money on here. Apple is $500 billion. SoftBank, Open AI, Oracle is $100 billion. It's a lot of money on here. So, anyways, wanted to show that to you. Make sure everybody knew. Kind of saw a list on here of the countries and the companies that are investing and pledging to invest in the United States.
It's one of my prophetic words here. I'm trying to find it real quick. I can't find it somewhere in here. Well, actually, it was the Trump prophecy. What am I talking about here? Because it talks about where, right here. Okay. It says, the Spirit of God says, enemy will quake and shake. The enemy will say, what shall we do now? This man knows all our tricks and schemes. In other words, President Trump. Yeah. We have been robbing America for decades. What shall we do to stop this? The Spirit says, no one shall stop this that I have started. For the enemy has stolen from America for decades, and it stops now. What's the verbiage that President Trump's been saying? They've been robbing us for decades, right?
Yeah.
So He says, for I will use this man to reap the harvest that the United States has sown for, and plunder from the enemy what he has stolen, and return it sevenfold back to the United States. Sevenfold. It's coming back, guys. The enemy will say, Israel, it goes on about Israel. But the point is that that's from 2011. That prophecy is from 2011. That was the original one. And so Trump was also quoted on Air Force One the other day. He was talking to reporters. I don't know if you caught that or not, where he was talking about where you guys are going to have so much money, you're not going to know what to do with it.
Yes.
And so we got the tariffs coming. April 2nd, he has said, is a turning point for America because I guess the tariffs, and I don't know if he's going to announce anything else. I don't want to go down that road because I don't know what to say. But so we have this huge investment that you're looking at here, 1.4 trillion from United Arab Emirates, 600 billion from Saudi Arabia, all these different numbers that are playing in here, guys. So it's coming. It's happening.
Yeah, that's so good. And he's saying, hey, look, this is going to translate into jobs.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Really?
Wow, that's great about the word though. I've heard that word, of course. I know all your words. So that's great. And it's coming back sevenfold. That's amazing.
Sevenfold. And it says they've been robbing America for decades. Now, this is way before Trump ever came into office, 2011, that God prophesied this. So, and so what has he been saying? They've been ripping us off. They've been robbing us, ripping us off. So it stops. So finally it's stopping. And so a lot of these prophetic words are starting to come to pass. We thought it was the first term, and now it's really starting to come to pass now on the second term.
Well, and you know what? I'm just reminded, and I want to make sure that, because there's many times I talk to people and they don't know this, God will give you a word because you're going to need it, because it's not going to happen tomorrow. No. And you need the word to be able to stand on to get you through to when everything comes to pass. Right. And so the fact that this is, what is it, like 13 years, 14 years later, and we're starting to see all of this happen, that makes a lot of sense to me, So that's why it's so important to read these words and to know them and use them as encouragement. If you're watching and you haven't watched or read any of Mark's prophecies that the Lord has given him through the years, be sure to do that. And so Sword Rescue, SORD rescue.com.
Yep.
.com. And so there you go. Thank you, producer Ron. All right. So wanted to make sure everybody knew about all this money flowing in. And so the next thing I wanted to talk about, I hadn't heard about this. I've heard about it like through the years, different ways. But okay, so there's this scheme in Portland, Oregon. It's a fraud ring is what they're calling it. And they're using food benefits to buy bottled water. Then they redeem those bottles. And then they turn around and take that money and go and buy drugs. Let's take a look. You can see it here. We've got some video for you.
Here's what's happening here. You get an Oregon Trail card. You go in and you buy bottled water. You go out to the parking lot and you dump it on the ground. Then you take your empty bottles, you take them into the store immediately to redeem for 10 cents a piece. Then you buy drugs.
And then you buy drugs. All right, we have a second video.
Yeah.
Wow, Mom.
I mean, that's pretty standard inner cities. I mean, any big city is going to have that going on.
Yeah. When I worked at the grocery store when I was in high school and college, and I remember somebody would come in with food stamps and they'd use like the dollar food stamp, and they'd buy back then you could buy, now I'm really aging myself, but you could buy like a 3-cent bubblegum ball. And I remember that they would do that, and then they'd get, the 97 cents change or whatever. And then they'd buy another piece of bubble gum, and then they would turn around and buy a pack of cigarettes with all that change.
Right.
And so, so this scheme is, it's just looking different right now.
Yep.
Instead, now it's, they're using this whole thing with the water bottles. I didn't know that water bottles like that could get you money, though. See, in our area, we don't do that.
Now, see, I remember as a kid, we used to do the Coke bottles, 10 cents, stuff like that as a kid. But I mean,
yeah.
I wasn't selling it for drugs. Most of us weren't selling it for drugs. You know what I mean?
No. I know it's infuriating for many people to watch stuff like this. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So let's talk about this. Came across this information and thought it was interesting. So he's talking about a lady named Celia Farber. So she went to New York to the Gates of Heaven Cemetery. Now, this is interesting. This is a cemetery where Fauci was disposing of the corpses of children who died in his illegal experiments. Now, some of these children, they were foster children. They were all children like that didn't have any kind of a guardian, nobody looking for them, might be foster kids, whatever the situation was. She actually went to that cemetery and she opened up the AstroTurf. And she says that she found hundreds upon hundreds of coffins. But now let's hear Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about the whole situation and what they were doing. On the front end of this video, you're going to hear him describe what they were doing with the kids. It's absolutely horrific. I do want to say viewer discretion advised. This is very upsetting. And so I just want to make sure that people realize that, this may not be for everybody. It's a little graphic as to how he describes this. But again, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., viewer discretion advised. Let's take a listen.
Tony Fauci made sure that none of those kids had guardians, which is illegal. And then he hid what he was doing from the boards. He took foster homes in 6 states and he turned them over to the pharmaceutical industry. He made sure that the people who were running those foster homes did not even have medical training. Most of them were immigrants who came from the Dominican Republic. They knew nothing about medicine or responsibilities, and they were sickened when they realized slowly what they were involved in doing to these children, that they were torturing these children. And you know, there's videos of these children, an old BBC documentary that will make you cry. I promise you cannot look at these without weeping. There, you know, one of these kids, a 12-year-old who's trying to protect the 8 years old, and he has a tube in his stomach. And he's telling them, you know, I tried to fight them, and this is what they do if you fight them. You can't fight them. You need to just take the drugs. And the kids didn't want to take them because the drugs were making them horribly sick. And Celia Farber, who's this amazing researcher who worked on this chapter for me and did a lot of the original research on it, she actually went up to Hawthorne, New York, to the Gates of Heaven Cemetery. She found the cemetery where Fauci was disposing of the corpses of these children who died in his illegal experiments. She found an open pit. It was actually covered by an astroturf carpet. She opened the astroturf carpet and she saw hundreds and hundreds of tiny little coffins stacked haphazardly upon each other, because these are children who have no parents and nobody was there to protect them. And Tony Fauci treated them as collateral damage. And, you know, his objective was to enlarge the markets for these pharmaceutical companies who he had partnered with by allowing HIV, these toxic chemotherapy drugs, to be given to children. And then the next experiments, which are in the next chapter, which are equally horrendous, is his experiments on Africa.
It's awful. I mean, there were some things we're going to talk about today that seems like it's just completely evil. And of course, that's one of the things that we're talking about today that, I mean, it's just, words fail me.
Well, I mean, the guy is evil. He reminds me of Joseph Mengele back in the day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When you look at the picture with him in the glass, that's who he reminds me of, basically. But I mean, look, this evil has been going on for how many years, honestly? And this is the part where everyone has to realize this is what we're taking down. This is what we're dealing with right now. This is not just a physical issue. This is a spiritual issue, because everything starts in the spirit. It manifests in the natural. So these guys are obviously demon possessed. I mean, this is a demonic program. Then notice that it was the foster kids. A lot of these people who don't have families, a lot of these kids that don't have families. The same thing goes on with MK Ultra. Same thing with the child trafficking. It all runs together. It's all one great big network.
I'm reminded too, you know, during the whole Slowing the Spread, I remember hearing the Holy Spirit talking to me about, you know, if I'm not in it, it's evil. Right. And that's really what it is. I've really learned, you know, through that time frame, the Holy Spirit really took me through a time frame of showing me about how to identify evil and calling it out as it is. And he's like, you know, where am I in this? And there were times where he'd say, where am I in that? And I would say, nowhere. And he'd say, exactly, because it's evil. And I think that's probably one of the best things that we can do. You know, at that time, I realized that I had a hard time calling evil out, you know, and would try to, you know, well, I mean, it's not good, but, you know, maybe this or maybe that, and try to almost make excuses for things and not necessarily even see it as evil. And so I think that's important, that we see things and call it out as it is and just call it out. And so, and accept it, you know, that, hey, because how do you deal with it if you can't even accept it? And so that's, I mean, this is just absolutely evil, but he's been getting away with this for decades, come to find out.
Well, and how many, I mean, it's not just kids. How many people have they experimented on? How many animals? How many beagles they came out and said that he killed through all of this? So it's not just humans, it's animals as well. So, I mean, it's everything. I mean, so, you know, as a society, we've been brainwashed into thinking, well, we need to be inclusive, we need to be tolerant, we need to be this, we need to be that. And that's what we're trying to break off right now, that evil has to be called out. You're not going to stop evil unless you confront it head on, period.
Yeah. Now, I always go back to a photo. I've been thinking about this. I've got to go back. I know it's on my phone somewhere, but do you remember the photo of Fauci? And he was with a number of other people in the photo, and there was Barbara Walters was sitting in a chair, and she was with somebody from the Astor family. There was a Rockefeller, a Rothschild. I want to even say that Tom Brokaw was in the photo or something like that, but there were a number of people that we would recognize. But I remember thinking, Barbara Walters is in this photo. That's not good. Goes to show you the level of even the media. Obviously, you know, the media was completely sold out. And so just shockingly awful. But Fauci was in that photo. And I'll never forget that, and so, and we've seen other photos with him with Bill Gates. And so, obviously there was a long time of him being able to do, can you imagine like being Trump too? Because, Trump had to know some of this during the whole slowing the spread. Here they are, they're doing these press conferences. Trump had to know how evil he was.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, again, there was a lot of games that were being played during that whole thing. You had Birx, you had Fauci, you had all these people that were these psyops that were going on. I'm not going to get off on that soapbox with the vaccines, but
Yeah, that's interesting. All right. So the next thing is, since you've been on, we were on last Monday together. Since then, the JFK files have been released.
Right.
And so in it, there was an interesting thing that caught my eye that I wanted to discuss with you. It said that the JFK files, we've got the image to producer Ron. It says JFK files reveal the CIA saw the Roman Catholic Church as a key asset in its propaganda network, claiming exploitable access to its inner workings. The CIA exploited women, labor, students, teachers, and others.
Shocker. Haven't we been saying the CIA is behind all of our false prophets, all of the churches? I mean, all of this stuff. So, I mean, these are three-letter agencies. So this is just confirmation is what this is.
Yes, it is. And it's absolute confirmation about things that we were talking about 5 and 6 months ago. But yeah, interesting. All right. So we had a guest on. He and his father. So we had Yeshua and we had his father, Othello Johnson, on. Yesterday, I came across this video. I want to show this. I want people to understand just the depth. We need to, producer Ron, put the link to that interview. And the interview is about 4 or 5 months ago in today's show description so that people can find it pretty easily if they want to watch that interview. It was really good. But his father is speaking about something I want people to be aware of. Let's take a listen.
Dear Department of Health and Human Services Secretary, Mr. Robert F. Kennedy, what is happening to our children? It is estimated up to 80% of American children who are sex trafficking victims in the United States come through the federally funded foster care system of the Department of Health and Human Services Network. What taxpayers don't know is that no American child who enters into the state custody of the Department of Health and Human Services foster care system can be denied federally mandated due process within 72 hours after being placed into state custody. Violation of these freedoms to innocent children and tax-paying American families generates $150 billion a year in tax-free human trafficking and child sex trafficking profits each year. The only reason for a Department of Health and Human Services supervisor to deny a child in its custody due process as mandated by the Social Security Act's federally funded law called ICPC is simply for the purpose of sex trafficking or federally kidnapping for the sale of a child directly to child pimps from the hands of seasoned Department of Health and Human Services supervisors. Both crimes against children under the age of 7 are life sentences with no possibility of parole for current employed HHS supervisors today running this multi-billion-dollar child sex ring in Nevada and California. These facts are documented on record and through a preponderance of direct evidence. And the reason the children have been denied due process since 2014. Mr. Kennedy, you stated for 19 years, you got out of bed and you prayed 30 minutes every day that God will put you in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic so we can bring back health to American children.
And for 19 years, since 2005, I spend 30 minutes praying every day when I get out of bed. And my prayer is this. I ask God for 19 years to put me in a position where I could end the chronic disease epidemic and bring health back to our children.
Well, Mr. Kennedy, not only did God put you in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic, but he also put you in a position to end the heinous child sex slavery epidemic being perpetrated by corrupt cartel-owned Department of Health and Human Services supervisors and CPS union leaders at the corrupt SEIU union 1107 and 1000. My 7-year-old son, Yeshua, was one of 6 who escaped the child sex ring. How many more American children have been denied HHS federally mandated constitutional guarantees, Mr. Kennedy? Yeshua's due process today, with your help, will free his baby brother Caleb from the child sex ring and maybe thousands more being denied federally mandated due process at the Department of Health and Human Services by seasoned supervisors on the state level as we speak. Child sex slavery, Mr. Kennedy, makes more than Walmart, Nike, and Starbucks combined. And nobody can stop it unless victims like Yeshua and Caleb are allowed due process.
Okay, so wow. This is actually part of a longer video by him as well. Othello, there is a whole thing to this interview that we did with him. It was absolutely amazing. I highly recommend it. Producer Ron already has the link for that interview that I did with him in today's Rumble channel or Rumble show description for the Michelle Moore Show and for Truth Talk America. Mark, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, shouldn't we be hearing more about stopping the child trafficking? It seems like we're barely hearing anything except for from the victims.
I honestly, there's a lot going on in this country right now and around the world. And, I thought that the children was going to be what rallied the people around one another. So we were hearing all these years, you know what I mean? Could things be moving a little quicker? Yeah, they could be moving a whole lot faster. I don't know if Trump doesn't have all of his assets in place that he needs for this stuff to happen and make it quicker. If there still have these Biden holdovers that they're having to clean out. I don't know, honestly, because there's a lot of things right now that's not moving quick enough. And that's one of them, as well as the illegal immigration. I mean, they were just out here talking about 340 people out of Boston. Well, that's great. But at this rate, we're going to be 30 years cleaning this mess up. So the same thing kind of goes with the child trafficking. If we don't, you know what I mean? So it's like we've got to have some type of resource where we can get this stuff moving quicker.
All right. Put a pin in that because we're going to come back to something similar to that in a minute. All right. So I want to move on. This organization that's called the Satanic Grotto that's planning to hold a black mass ritual inside the Kansas State Capitol. They're planning on doing this on March the 28th at 11 o'clock in the morning. I mean, this stuff is absolutely insane. Inside the state capitol, not outside in Kansas. This is, I mean, just, I can't even believe that this would be approved.
Well, again, I say, where are the Christians in all of this? They ought to be surrounding the state capitol with prayer, physically out there on the streets. And so, we're going to get a little more into this as we go along into the show as to who else needs to be talking about this, but she is not, who's around President Trump.
Yeah.
And so, because according to her and her position, she has a lot of power, which is Paula White. Where is she?
Mhm.
Why isn't
Yeah.
she addressing some of this stuff? Because where is the church, folks?
So,
That's right. You can't cast this out because they're yoked with them. That's why. Because they're a 501c3. You can't cast out Satan with Satan. That's the problem.
So this little image here, it says the Satanic Grotto is proud to present the Black Mass at the Capitol, an expression of blasphemy and a dedication to Satan.
And
This
do you
is
know
the
why
kind
they're
of-
proud? Do you know why they're proud? It's because they know the church has no power against them. They know the church is not going to come after them. They know they're apathetic. They have no power. They're combat ineffective. That's why he's got that smirk on his face. That's why he's saying they're proud to present this, because they know most of the time, most of these churches are not going to step up to the plate, period. And he also knows he's not dumb either, because just like Anton LaVey was saying that, the best thing that Satan ever did for the church was keep them in business all those years. He knows they're a business. It's all about the money with the churches.
Yeah, under the 501c3, it's a corporation.
Yep.
Okay, so just making sure everybody understands. We talked about this a few weeks ago, about this whole mass ritual that they're planning on doing inside the Kansas State Capitol, but wanted to let you know that sounds like it's still scheduled to move forward, and want to give you more information on that. The next thing is, listen to this. This is in New York. Listen to this loudspeaker that goes on in this city.
Okay, so when I listen to that on social media, you can read the comments from people that live there locally, and they said that you can literally hear that for 2 miles. So do people understand what that's doing in the spiritual realm geographically in that area? Again, the most powerful people, apparently the most powerful people, is this President Spiritual Advisory Board. Where are they? Why are they not dealing with this? Now, we're going to show something else here in a second. Let's keep going. We'll get more into the weeds of this here in a minute.
All right. So here's another one in D.C., right in front of the White House. Let's take a look at this video.
Yep.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Okay. So this was an MJ Truth Ultra post that he was using a video from Laura Loomer. And he says, welcome to Washington, D.C. in front of the White House. Freedom of religion has become a double-edged sword in America, injecting millions of people into America who don't assimilate to our ways by design will be the destruction of our country. Keywords by design.
Yep, absolutely. And so where's Paula White again? Why didn't you walk out of the White House and meet and greet them? Where was the rest of the Spiritual Advisory Board? Again, you look, the freedom of religion, what he said was absolutely perfect, because when they come here to assimilate, you cannot implement those laws here in this land. We are a Christian nation built on Christian principles. I know some people will disagree with what I just said, and they'll go into the weeds with this, but I really don't care. The fact of the matter is that we are a Christian nation, period. And so because of that, if you want to come here, you cannot implement your laws or your ways as assimilation, if you will. You know what I mean? Because here we go again with tolerance, inclusivity, unity. We don't want to ruffle any feathers, this, that, and the other. So here we go again with the brainwashed Christians. These guys know the Christians are brainwashed. They know that they can take ground and hold that ground. And we're going to show some of that ground that they're actually holding right now, trying to hold right now in Texas here in a minute. And so you can't do it. Again, where is the church? Why are these things happening, Michelle, in America right now? Why does it look like it's accelerating spiritually right now? Some of these, like the Satanism or the Islamic or whatever the case may be. It's because the church is combat ineffective. That's the bottom line. Every single person that Trump's got around him right now is combat ineffective. Period.
Mm. All right. We have talking about Texas. So there is a city that they're wanting to do is 402 acres, and they're wanting to call it Epic City. And this is supposed to be a Muslim city. We found this video that a lady is talking about this particular project. She's also making some really good points about checking the pockets, the bank statements of the politicians.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this. This is in Texas, you guys. All right, let's take a look.
There's a development that very well may happen that I think everybody in America needs to watch. So there's a group of Muslims, Islamic people, who are looking to build a place called Epic City here north of Dallas. It sounds like a water park, but it is indeed not that. What they're trying to do is take 402 acres, and they plan to build an entire city of Muslims, but not to be governed by the United States and our laws, but to be governed by Sharia law. Now, in this city, in this proposed city, there will be over 1,000 homes, of course, a temple for them to worship, shopping, the same thing as any city. But we won't be allowed to, our laws won't apply to them. That's what they want. If any of you know anything about Sharia law, we should all be very, very outraged and very scared of what their plan is to do here in America. If y'all don't remember in the Middle East when the little girls with all the women were taking their, what are they called? Whatever. Their scarves off their hair and their face, and then they started their heads off, little girls included. Yeah, that was Sharia law, by the way. You look over there now and women can't even be outside. They can't work. They can't shop alone. They don't have money. Complete and total oppression and depression. Right now. Under what? Sharia law. And if you think for 1 second they're not going to try and impose those laws on Americans that live in that area or surround that area, you must be crazy. You must be crazy. They absolutely are. And the craziest part to me is that there are some local political figures who are supporting it. And I want to see what their bank account look like. That's what I want to see. I want to see who paid you to sell your own, to sell Texas out. Now, the history of this is it was already brought up and they wanted to get it approved, but it was shot down. And Greg Abbott said there will not be any such thing, any Muslim towns established in Texas. That's not happening. But they're bringing it back up again, and there's a few mayors that are supporting it. I also want to point out, if you're a believer in God and Jesus Christ, the rumor is the Antichrist will come up out of the Muslim faith. He will be Middle Eastern. Not saying for sure. But the man of perdition is supposed to be Middle Eastern, and really everything is fitting that. And one of the only religions that has that oppressive, extreme oppressive spirit is Islam. And the fact that they're trying to do that here is like, and this isn't the only place that they're doing it, that they're trying to build these towns and cities like this. Where they actually they have their own police departments and things like that. I don't know. Whew. Things are coming quickly. I don't know what everybody else finna do, but I be worried about my people. I know that ain't gonna fly with us. That's not gonna, we not going. And so that makes me wonder, like, dang, what they gonna do with us? They ain't gonna do nothing with us. But y'all should be very worried. And the fact that people here are willing to sell out their own people, trust me, it's for some money. It's crazy to me.
She makes a great point.
Yep. And so here we go again with, this is what happens when you give too much ground to the enemy, whether it's Satanism, whether it's this, I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. LGBTQ, it doesn't matter what topic it is. This is what happens when you give too much ground to the enemy. Because now when you come back, because the enemy took that ground sevenfold, now we got a sevenfold go in here and take out the enemy, so to speak, if you will, spiritually. So who's going to do that? Who's going to take back this ground? Paula White, the head Jezebel? No. The spiritual advisory board? No, they're not going to do this. If they were going to do this, they would have done it 30 years ago. These people have been doing this, like Paula White, Kenneth Copeland, all these guys. They've been doing this for 30, 40 years, guys. This is why America and the rest of the world are burning. This is why spiritually America is going down the tubes right now, is because we have no one to take the lead, take the ball and run with it and take this ground back. It's going to take, as I've said this before, I'll say it again, it's going to take a very, very heavy hand to get control of this. This is not the only place in the United States this is going on. We have multiple places. Look at the UK right now. There's places in London you cannot even go into. Even the cops don't even go into because they've taken over.
It's not safe. Yeah. And I think about Michigan, and, that's been going on for what, a decade in Michigan, where it's not safe to go into a lot of those areas.
Right.
And so now we're talking about, a little while ago, we're showing DC in front of the White House. We were showing another video in New York. I mean, this is spreading.
What are they saying basically when they're going to DC like that? They're saying that we're coming.
Oh, yeah.
We're coming to the White House, in other words.
Well, I just read that a little while ago. Did you see that comment where, it was somebody left a comment. Where is it? I don't see it. Shoot. And they were talking about a Muslim man.
Oh, yeah. There's somebody right here. Eyes of a Lady said the Middle Eastern person said on TV that someday there will be an ISIS flag hanging over DC Capitol.
Yeah.
When the person replied, I don't think so. The Middle Eastern man said, you watch. So again,
brazen.
When you give the enemy an inch, he's going to take a mile. Period.
Yeah.
And we have given the enemy so many things in this country for the last 4 years because of the pause that I didn't agree with. That's nor here nor there. This is the reason why, right here.
Okay, so here's the other thing too, though. You said, well, who's going to take it back? Who's going to do that? Well, my question is, who's qualified to? I talk about this all the time with you, where I say there's been a intentional dumbing down, systematic dumbing down of the body of Christ. So the church hasn't really, the church building hasn't taught these things to the people, and I believe intentionally. And that's what I mean by the dumbing down. We're not equipped. Right. So when you hire, for example, a contractor, you expect them to show up with the hammer and the saw and the screws and the, all that. Right. And so whatever they're going to need to do the job. And it's like, well, who's equipped? Who's got the tool belt with the right tools in it to be able to even do this?
It's not the church. I can tell you that. That's going to be the ecclesia, those who are outside of the system, period.
Right.
Look, when you, let's go back. Let's just go back here for a second to the slide we just saw where the CIA was doing with the Catholic Church, this, that, and the other. When you look at this on a grand scale, when you've got people like Lance Wallnau, you got Hank Kuhneman, Rodney Howard-Brown, Kenneth, all these different guys out here, okay? Mm-hmm. These guys have had 30, 40 years to make a difference. They've done nothing except for sell stuff, make money, their millions, their jets, their homes. They've done nothing. It's going to take the true ecclesia of God, those who are not inside the institutionalized church, to come against a lot of this stuff spiritually and begin to take ground. But we have to, more importantly, we have to hold that ground. This is the problem. They can go in and have a revival someplace and they can try to hold that ground, but they don't hold it. They take it. The enemy goes, okay, you want to come in or take ground? Go for it. We know you guys aren't going to leave anything in place to hold that ground, like discipleship. They don't do it. And so when you look at everywhere we've had revivals on the electoral map will tell you where your blue areas are. Those are your spiritual areas that you need to go after. It's not that hard. It's very simple. And so, but you look everywhere we've had a revival are usually the blue areas. Why? Because they didn't leave anything in place to hold that ground. Because when you cast a demon out, it seeks rest, it comes back sevenfold and doesn't find it. The same thing happens geographically, the Lord told me. So these guys go in here, they try to cast all this stuff, they don't leave anything in place, it comes back sevenfold worse. And the enemy knows that, period. And these guys know that, period. That's why he's saying there's going to be an ISIS flag over Washington. Was Paula White in there? Pretty much.
Well, I want to go back to what you were saying about the Lance Wallnaus and all of these guys, Rodney Howard-Brown. I mean, we've been laying this out, and I got to say, even today's show where it shows that photo of Kennedy with with the Pope at the time, and it's talking about how they were saying, you know, the JFK files revealed this. There was a document in that image, and it revealed, and it typed up, and it said the CIA saw the Roman Catholic Church as a key asset in its propaganda network, claiming exploitable access to its inner workings. And so, you know, here's the deal. It's like, who is actually teaching and doing anything different than these Lance Wallnows and Rodney Howard Browns and all these guys?
All these guys are infiltrators. These are infiltrators.
Well, and the thing about it, Mark, is like, okay, so I've been to the White House. I've been to Mar-a-Lago a few times, you know, because of just my own role as being a Christian woman in media. Okay. And I've seen these people, and I've seen Paula, I've seen Jennison Franklin, I've seen these people, and I've seen Lance Wallnow there at Mar-a-Lago. And I got to tell you, like, they're all to me the same. They're all the same. That what are they actually doing and accomplishing other than, you know, hanging out in their expensive suits and
with a drink in their hand?
Well, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Come on now. Yeah,
Lance,
we know.
Yeah. Lance Wallnow. Yeah. And so with hard liquor. And so it's like, you know, I'm just saying, where's the fruit? Where is the true fruit? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, here we go again, because if these guys are infiltrators, and if they're part of a 3-letter agency, then this is by design. So there's no cleaning this up until you clean them up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, to clean them up, you got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, you got to get rid of them because they won't take themselves out of the system.
It's more than that. If these guys are MK Ultra, if these guys are running a program, if they're part of a 3-letter agency, they're there by design. You're going to have to remove the 3-letter agency, or you're going to have to remove them, or both.
Both. Yeah.
Because look, all this stuff is designed literally around the 3-letter agencies. This is why nothing gets done.
But what do you think about Trump? Do you think he's just not aware of the things of the spirit, and he just doesn't understand, and he's trusting Paula, who's, you know, really been somebody that he's turned to for over a decade now?
It's either one or two things. He either truly does not know, or he's playing another psyop, in which case, if he's playing a psyop, I don't agree with it, because too many people are being led astray, number one. Number two, this is the issue right here with the psyop, because you're allowing the enemy to take ground while playing the psyop. Now, somebody's got to come in and clean it up. It's no different than like we talked about. Who's going to do that? It's like we talked about with Kenneth Copeland. He had him up on stage up there at one of his rallies, allowed him to pray over the country, which there's no way I would allow that demon to pray over the country. So now someone has to go back on that same platform and repent and renounce for the words that man was allowed to speak, because it was a psyop. That was when he kissed Trump on the cheek that day. That was a Judas kiss, by the way. Yeah. But still, this is the part where I love the president. I respect him. I appreciate everything he's doing, but I don't always agree with everything that he does. And this is why. I understand that there's moving parts behind the scenes that we don't know, but spiritually speaking, this stuff that we're showing today has got to come to a stop. Otherwise, America is done. Period. I don't care what he does with the economy. I don't care what we do militarily. Everything is spiritual. Period.
Let's show Epic City. We have some images for you. So 402 acres. They're wanting to call it Epic City. It's a Muslim city. And so it says thriving ecosystem for growth and connection. They're always using, I always say they're wordsmithers. What did you call it?
Word magic.
Word magic.
We've been talking about that on ATKN a lot. And this is word magic. Me and Melissa have been talking about this.
Yeah, makes sense. It looks like they got tennis courts, all kinds of stuff. I guess they're going to eat, live, and play there. Probably have their own police department. I wouldn't be surprised at all. In fact, I would expect it. Yep. Let's look at this other image that's on their website. Epic City, where community prosperity thrive together. Okay.
Yep.
And this is the mosque that they're planning on building on the land.
Yep.
So there you go. Okay. Let's talk about what happened last week we were talking about Paula White and this faith group that they have. So the faith leaders, let's look at this photo.
Okay,
so here they are praying.
Yep. So it was probably around the 19th or 20th. I don't know what the date was. Okay. I put this out, and I'm going to read it to everybody. I said, this is before the picture came out, by the way, that I put this out. I said, there is a judicial coup taking place in America against President Trump, because this is when president was coming against, a lot of the judges were coming against him. I said, at the same time, there is a spiritual coup taking place against America and President Trump. The judicial coup will not win. The spiritual coup has been and already has taken place. Pray that God intervenes to take the spiritual coup down. The sign will be when Jezebel / Paula White goes down. She is the gatekeeper that only allows the prophets of Baal to see the king. No true prophet of the living God will ever see the king as long as she's the gatekeeper. Keep a close eye on who she invites to the White House. Those will be your prophets of Baal. It was literally either that afternoon or I think it was the next morning. Trump shares this photo out, and there it is. I put this out, telegram this out. I said, notice what it says. President Trump's White House Faith Office welcomed faith leaders. That was the headline, right? And in other words, Paula White. God just warned, watch who she invites into the White House. They will only be prophets of Baal. No true prophet of the living God will be invited as long as she is the gatekeeper. She must be removed. She is Jezebel, guys. I don't even know who most of these people are. I've never even seen most of these people before. But all I can tell you is that I can guarantee you anyone that she invites is not going to be a true prophet of the living God or a true man or woman of God, so to speak, of purity that's not defiled by the 501c3 or the church institutionalized system. Now, here's the part that Jay pointed out that I'm going to point out here for everybody here, because we did this on ATKN. Notice who's on his right shoulder, who's on his left shoulder. Both women. All of the men are behind the women. That's how you know it's Jezebel, folks. Period. It should be the other way around. Not two women having his shoulder. Not two women having his ear.
Wow. Okay. Good point. Wow. Okay.
Unbelievable.
All right.
I don't even know what to say.
I know. All right. What about spiritual infiltration? So let's talk about that.
Massive. It's massive. This is a prime example right here. I don't even know who these people are. I mean, he's going on based on what her recommendations are, and any recommendation from that Jezebel is not going to be good. Period.
Yeah.
Just look, that photo, like that picture speaks 1,000 words, right? A picture speaks 1,000 words. That photo says it all right there when you have two women who are laying hands on him and all the men are standing behind him. No, not good. Not good.
All right. What about the judicial coup?
The judicial coup, I think at some point Trump's going to act and he'll end up taking some of these guys down. I really do.
I think he's starting to set the stage.
Does he see the spiritual coup though? Because we had the whiteboard from the Clay Clark garbage,
Reawakening.
Right? Reawakening tour, and he was the target. His picture was in the middle of it. So again, that's the spiritual coup, and so it's already taken place, guys. The fact that Paula's in the White House in the head position, the spiritual coup is complete. The only way that's going to stop this is for him to cast out Jezebel and feed her to the dogs, basically, just like in the Bible. Period.
All right. What about the F-47 announcement? So what was significant about that? So there was an announcement about a new fighter jet.
Yeah, this is huge. Do we have that video by chance?
I don't think so.
We don't?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I thought we had the video because that should have been. Well, there was a lot of stuff in there. It should be on Telegram. Yeah, right there it is. So right. Trump announces the 6th generation fighter, right? The F-47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built. An experimental version of the plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years, and we're confident that it massively overpowers the capabilities of any other nation. Now, there's verbiage in that video that I wanted to use. That's all right. But
Ron's getting it. He's getting it.
All right.
Why don't we? Yeah, you want to tell us about it, and then we'll watch the video.
Okay. Yeah. So I want people to pay really close attention to the president's verbiage when he describes this, because this is extremely prophetic. Notice it's F-47. Of course, it's after the 47th president, and so 4 and 7 is 11. 11 is transition. It also means prophet. So when you're looking at this is a stealth fighter that has been flying for secretly for 5 years, folks, which means, what have I been saying? Your true prophets are not the ones you see out here, just like the president's been saying with the generals. They're the ones you don't see behind the scenes that are about to come forth. He said it's been secretly flying for 5 years. So, does he have the do you have the video?
Well, do you think that's part of the pause? 5 years.
I'm
Do you
sure
think
it probably is part of the pause, but what this represents, I believe, is a new and true prophetic combat ministry, if you will, coming forth that's going to be undetectable, that has been secretly being prepared for the last 5 years to bring forth, that God's going to bring forth. That's what I believe this represents.
Okay. So is that something you think that Trump would be in charge of, or is it something that he would not even necessarily know anything about?
I'm not sure he even has a clue what he's even really, when I say it, doesn't know what clue what he's saying spiritually, spiritual implications. He may not have a clue what he's saying spiritually. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I really don't.
It was kind of funny because when obviously I saw the F-47, I'm thinking, okay, 47, he's the 47th president. And so you read it and I'm thinking there's a parallel to him. I'm thinking in the natural. So it's amazing, that, of course, every time we have you on, you always talk about the things of the spirit. And so, of course, that just makes sense. But that's amazing. Yeah.
Yep. But having this 47, 4 plus 7 being the prophet and being transition, we're transitioning into the prophetic ministry, the true prophetic ministries who are going to have a devastating effect, I believe.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the video.
Listen to what he says.
47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built. An experimental version of the plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years, and we're confident that it massively overpowers the capabilities of any other nation. There's no other nation. We know every other plane. I've seen every one of them, and it's not even close. This is a next level. Level 5 is good. This is level 6, they say. The F-47 is equipped with state-of-the-art stealth technology. It's virtually unseeable and unprecedented power. It's got the most power of any jet of its kind ever made. Maneuverability, likewise, is there's never been anything like it, despite the power and speed. Its speed is top. It's over 2, which is something that you don't hear very often. America's enemies will never see it coming. Hopefully we won't have to use it for that purpose, but you have to have it. And if it ever happens, they won't know what the hell hit them.
Boom.
All right, a couple of things here. So he says it's been flying secretly for 5 years. That means it was the entire time that the Biden administration was supposedly in office. So, so it would have started near the end of his administration.
Correct.
So it just makes me wonder about that. Kiwi RN on YouTube says, how could it be secretly flying for 5 years when Biden was in? Was Trump running an operation on the side? Well, was it Trump or was it the military? I think it was probably more the military would be technically who it would be, Kiwi RN. So
key words in here are, if we have to use it, the enemy's not going to see it coming, and it's going to have devastating effects. So this to me is huge, guys. It really is.
Viewer Celeste on X says, I heard years ago that fighter jets were being manufactured in South Carolina. I thought there was also another great point on YouTube, by the way, that I saw a minute ago. Oh, no, it was viewer Celeste. So I wanted to bring this to your attention on X. She goes, faith leaders, no man leads our faith.
Yeah.
I think that there's these self-appointed people, but, also viewer Celeste. Okay. So she says, great question, Michelle. Where is the fruit? And so, it's,
Well, again, you go back to who's going to straighten all this out. Maybe, just maybe, I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe Trump has got these guys in limbo behind him right there in that picture. You know what I mean? And holding them at limbo until the F-47s come out. You know what I mean? That God's bringing them out and they start unleashing on the earth. I don't know. Maybe so.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Yeah.
We need some backup. We need some help.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing here that I really hope we're getting across to the people is that, you see this stuff going on at DC and DC at the White House. Okay. You see Paula White, you see these meetings, you see all this stuff, but what does it accomplish? I kind of got onto a thing about this the other day where I was saying, don't be giving your money. When Jack and Margie Flynn were on with me the other day, I was talking about, people are always grifting. They're always asking for your money, but what are you getting? They're like, join me in my fight for, every dollar counts. And it's like, well, they've been fighting for 5 years and nothing about my medical freedom has changed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Help us, even $5, $10, Ann Vandersteel saying in some video, just help us fight what? What are you accomplishing?
Well, on ATKN the other day, we were actually exposing Paula and how she's got this other, what is it, some committee or faith thing. I don't know what it is, garbage she has. But anyways, out of Apopka, which is where her church is at. And it was like, you could sign up for $50 or this and the other. And it was like one there for like 10 grand.
What?
Something, I don't know. Jay had it. You have to go back and look at the podcast we had. It was just like, it was unbelievable. It's like, what am I getting for $10,000 to hear you speak? Forget it.
Okay. Now, just when you think you heard it all, I mean, no. Okay. Just, oh my goodness. Celeste says the kingdom is within us, no church required. That's right. Church, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. The word church isn't even in the word.
Nope.
And so we are the congregation. And so there's no building that we are needed. And so it's just, all right, let's just okay, let's go on ahead and take some viewer comments and questions, because I know we got a bunch that have come through. In the Navy, before we engage targets with helicopters, we would sanitize the area, meaning fly a lot of copters over them as to make them not react once we dropped in their residence. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, line 22 says, I'm tired of the psyops. To me, they are only lies. Okay, that's how I see it.
Yep.
Mark, I know people will say, oh, it's a war and, this is just the art of the war. But to me, that's how I see it too. It's lies and deceit and deception. And it's not to one another like good versus evil. We, the people, are left to what? Wring our hands and hope that the good guys are actually really doing something and accomplishing anything.
Right. And that's what we've been talking about. I understand there are psyops needed in a time of war, just like in World War II. They had to have a psyop there to lure the enemy away from where they were going to make their landing. That kind of stuff, I get it. The problem with these psyops, it's against our own people. And the problem is it's creating an atmosphere of distrust to the point where no one trusts anyone anymore. Nobody trusts the Truther movement, the patriotic movement, the Christian movement. Nobody trusts anybody anymore because it's gotten to the point where these psyops are out of hand. They've gone on for too long. That's the other reason why I don't like these psyops, is because it has gone on too long. And it's like, to me, well, Trump's, bringing this light to this person because he's exposing them, like Kash Patel or Pam Bondi or whatever the case, whoever it is, at the time. It's like, I don't care. The point is, if the guy's corrupt or the woman's corrupt, bring out the proof and bust them. It's time to start perp walking these guys and setting an example out of these guys, period. Whoever it is. I don't care who it is.
It's just not fair.
No.
It's not right. I mean, at some point, enough is enough. And I feel like we're way past that point.
Yeah.
And so we don't even know what to believe anymore. No. And so I think it's like you said, it's also, we were talking about this earlier today about the distrust. You don't even know who to trust, who not to trust. And you see it all the time where people are like, is such and so good? Is this person good? Is that person good? That's why we don't talk a lot about that here on the show, because at this point, it's impossible to know, do I think this person or that person looks like they've been replaced? Do I really think we're dealing with the true, real, original Elon Musk? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there are many reasons why, but that's a whole psyop in itself.
Right. And how many times have we started off with trusting someone only to turn around and find out that they were corrupt?
Yes. Yes.
We've all had it done to us. Every one of us.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'm just waiting to see how this plays out. So, let's just cover the whole Flynn thing. So you got General Michael Flynn. We all, I did a show almost 2 years ago now that said, is General Michael Flynn really who you think he is? We know about the whole thing that he did on Hank Kunneman's church stage. And so here's the thing. This goes back to what you were talking about. So let's say that was an op. that's another thing then that has to be handled from the stage, has to be done in the
Right.
spirit, and that wasn't probably handled. And so it's like, okay, so, or is that guy, just because somebody's been replaced, another thing, and this was actually the Holy Spirit showed me this. I was really assuming there for a long time that if somebody, or just figured, well, okay, if somebody looks different and they've been replaced and they're at 2.0, well, then that means that this guy's really working for the good side. And then one day the Holy Spirit revealed to me, no, just because they look different doesn't mean that they're actually working for the good side. They could still be working for the bad side. And for one reason or another, the bad side took them out,
Right.
or the good side did take them out and the bad side still replaced them and put them into whatever, I mean, I could see where that could happen. And so I was like, holy cow, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
And so, but you got things like that. So it's like, okay, do these people understand? Let's say that Flynn really, that is an op. And he and the Clay Clark was such a baddie and they were taken out early. And this whole Clay Clark, reawakening tour, well, that was an op to find out who all was in it for the right reasons and who wasn't, and all this ridiculousness that I've heard.
Right.
And so, okay, so let's just say that that's true. Okay, so again, what about all the stuff that was going on from these stages, like what General Michael Flynn did from Hank Kunneman's church? You have
Right.
spiritual ramifications. This is not okay.
No, it's not. You had the Amanda disgraces. You had Danye Clement handing out Kim Clement's mantles like they're candy, which is not biblical. So you had all these things going on. You had witchcraft, you had New Age, you had patriotism, you had Christianity going on from the stage, and all of it was not God. None of it was God, period. And God was calling it out for a reason. So who's got to clean up the mess?
Yeah. Okay. So this goes back to what, I told you the Holy Spirit was teaching me and showing me, when I said that during the slowing the spread, one day I looked up at the television and was watching Fauci. And this was during that whole time that God had been showing me about what's evil. And that he said, if I'm not in it, it's evil. So what
Right.
you just said, you're saying God, it's not of God. That means it's evil. I hope
Right.
people are hearing this and understanding this,
Right.
that this is evil. We're talking about evil here. These are things that are not of God, not in line. And this is not okay.
No, it's not. This God is not in it. Period. That's why when the one of the prophecies I wrote was talking about the mixture. God, there's mixture in the churches. There's mixture in our conferences. There's mixture everywhere. You cannot have a conference. Look, I think God would be a whole lot happier, if you will. I hate to say this, is if you had a conference and you had mixture, leave him out of it.
Yeah.
Because you're giving him a bad name. Is what you're doing. You're representing God, so to speak, with the second you bring it up, but yet you're bringing in witchcraft and New Age with it. No, that's not God.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so someone brave needs to confront Trump about Paula White and explain to him why she's not fabulous. I guess he's called her fabulous. I don't put that in quotes, so I'm thinking maybe he must have called her fabulous.
I think the reason why people can't get these messages to him is because the gatekeepers won't allow it to get to him. We talked about this today on the phone, remember?
Yeah. All right. What about Kash Patel swearing in with his hand on the Buddhist book? Thoughts? Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I've never liked Abbott. Talking about Governor Abbott of Texas. He's all talk, no action. He's from Bush. He was like going to baseball games with baby Bush. So I mean, he's a New World Order guy. He's got to be, and they're all no good.
Right.
And so, Eyes of a Lady. Remember 20? Oh yeah, we read that one. Okay, Kazadu 77 says they've been doing that music up in Dearborn, Michigan for years. Just awful. Yeah. Yeah, but I think they got their own cops there too. And you know how I learned about that, Kazadu 77, was during the time, you remember the baker that did the Christian baker? I think he was in Colorado and he didn't, that whole thing was going on. Well, there was somebody that went undercover. I forget his name, David Michael or something. But he used to be, I want to say on Fox or something and got deplatformed, but he used to do his talk and walks or walk and talks or something. I hadn't seen him in a long time, but dark hair. But anyways, and so I think he drove down there and put it on tape and stuff, and went into a bakery, and they were able to say that they didn't want to do a cake for a gay couple, and so they went in and did the whole thing, and there was this bakery there, and they were like, oh no, we're not doing that, and so they were allowed to say no, but not the baker that's the Christian in Colorado. He couldn't say no.
Right.
And so, okay, so What's Under a Rock says, how can Trump abruptly state if you kill a cop, it's the death penalty? However, chemtrails that targets to kill millions happening now more than ever under Trump control, he can't immediately stop?
Thank you.
I know.
Thank you. See, this is one thing I've noticed with President Trump, and I'm just it's going to be controversial. I really don't care. As much as I love him, there's a disconnect with him and these natural disasters for some reason. I've noticed that with him. He's slow to react to these natural disasters. I got aggravated with him over in North Carolina because we knew this stuff was coming. Lord warned us was coming.
Yeah.
He acted like he knew nothing about it. Same thing with Maui. There wasn't much done with Maui. And there's this disconnect for some reason over these natural disasters, and I don't understand why. The only thing I can figure out is because it's like, like my sister down here. She's pulling her hair out still down here. You got people down here in Florida have been rebuilding 3 times now. They've been hit 3 times in a row. And so when you look at this, the only thing I can attribute it to, and there's good and bad to having a billionaire in office. It's good as far as the economy. It's good for all of these things. But I think as a billionaire, and I'm not saying this to slam him or mean any disrespect, I think there's a disconnect because he doesn't remember how the lower class or middle class live because he has a lot of things done for him. So I think there's this mental disconnect, if you will, sometimes with this stuff, not understanding that when you go through a storm, you lose these things. You don't have electricity for days. You're sweating your guts out in 100 degrees, 100% humidity, or you're having to rebuild. You're having to go through FEMA. You're having to go through insurance. You're having to go through the state. You got to go through the permits, all these different things. He doesn't have to deal with these things on a day-to-day basis. He has all these things done for him. And there's nothing wrong with that if you've got the money to do that. What I'm saying is that it has created, I think, a disconnect in a way because just like with the chemtrails, why are they still flying? I would have been putting the military on them at this point. Of course, it's our own military is probably doing it. But you see my point. Why are they still allowing these things 60 days in? We're over 60 days now, right? As far as this administration goes.
Yeah.
So again, here we go again with the illegals. At this rate, it's going to be 30 years getting these guys out of here. Cash Patel's on there tooting his own horn. Oh, we had 3 of the most wanted just arrested. Really? 3 in 60 days? I can arrest 3 in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, don't look over here in the left hand because the right hand's got the Epstein files over here, guys. What happened to the Epstein files on day 1? What happened to the FBI headquarters on day 1? We're going to make it into a museum. None of that came to pass. But the point is this, is that things are not moving quite as fast as what they should be. And that's a good point with the chemtrails. Why are they still flying 60 days into this administration? Because they're doing everything they can to kill off humanity right now.
Producer Ron, we were on Friday, we were out together and I said, look at the skies. It was literally a checkerboard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Literally a checkerboard.
And you can expect bad weather within 24 to 48 hours after you see all that usually.
Yeah.
Again, here we go again. Why? We just had a tornado outbreak, a week or so ago?
Yeah.
We lost over 30-something people in this tornado outbreak. Why is that even taking place? Why have they not? Because, again, when you get hit with a hurricane here, I've experienced too many of them in my lifetime. It's like a nuclear bomb going off. Why is that being allowed? I thought we were supposed to protect America, period. I voted for that. I voted to protect America, no matter what. And so why have they not launched a military strike on these weather modification sites, or not even a strike, send in tier 1 assets, take these things over and get them under our control? Why are they still doing this? That's the part I don't understand.
But hey, every time you turn the TV on, you hear about Tesla. And another Tesla that's being vandalized and what they're going to do to the people that are vandalizing the Teslas. And I'm not saying that that's not important.
Right.
But what I am saying is a lot of this is feeling like and seeming like a distraction.
Yep.
I'm not saying they're not important. There are a lot of things important. The corruption and all of the fraud with the money and the USAID and now the USIP and all this. I get it. Like there's a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
But why is nobody talking about the children? And why is it that nobody seems to be looking at CPS? And why is it that we're still being chemtrailed where I haven't met anybody that hasn't been very, very sick at least once in the last 4 months.
Everybody I talk to is dealing with some type of an ailment of some sort.
I mean, really bad, like something that we haven't had since when we were kids ever.
Right.
And so there's something seriously going on, and we know it's got to be this. That's why we're sick. We're getting poisoned from the land, the air, the water, the soil.
Everything.
And so we're getting poisoned in every which way. And so, and they're doing the dimming. So you're low on vitamin D.
Right.
And so it's
I
just
can look outside my window right now, and I can tell you that the sun is not normal right now.
Mhm.
It's not normal. It's like
Yeah.
dimming, like you're talking about.
Yep. Yep. Well, you had chemtrails then in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Or probably earlier today.
Yeah.
Patriot Sister 7 said, I had no power for 5 days. It was awful in Florida. Still no help for those who lost their homes.
Yep.
And still no help in North Carolina.
Yep.
I mean, we've got people that we know that are living in their cars that we're helping.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about this today, Mark, just praise God that the viewers have stuck it out with us with North Carolina. But, look at how many people say that they're helping. And yet, help us, send money, blah, blah, blah. What are they doing for these people? Our own, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I just feel like, I said this the other day. I said, I don't know if I've told you this, but the America Frontline doctors, this whole Simone Gold, she sends an email every single day. I have consistently watched Saturday and Sunday, and every email has at least 2 places to donate. And it's like, we're fighting the fight. Yeah,
Right.
While you sit there in your $1 million house giving the shakedown to regular old Americans that are barely being able to make ends meet, getting chemtrailed to death. Okay. And so that's part of my problem. It's like, where are you with helping people through all of this?
Right. Well,
so I'm upset with it.
It's like Governor DeSantis sent back a bunch of money, like $1 billion or whatever it was, to Doge. I'm like, why are you sending that money back? We got so many roads that need to be built or expanded because we got so many people here. Florida's going to break off and float away at some point. I mean, you can't even get out of the house and go anywhere because the traffic's so bad.
Okay, I saw that. So why was the money owed back to the government?
I mean, have
if it
no
was
clue.
owed to
I
the
didn't even read
government,
into it. I just, you see that and you go, your mouth drops. It's like, why would you give that money back when all these roads need to be built, fixed, bridges, whatever the case may be?
Sure.
Infrastructure.
Well, here's the thing. If the money was owed to the federal government, so be it. But the whole thing in the story that I read was saying that the money, he'd been trying to find somebody for over however many months or years to give the money back to, but nobody could figure out how to do it.
Right.
And so he's now sent the money back. If it belonged to the federal government, so be it. But, the federal, I mean, I'm, don't know about all that, but who knows? But the fact of the matter is, it's like, okay, that seems shady to me anyways. The whole thing just seems like another psyop. So 200T says many weeks ago, Donald J. Trump and VP Vance stated that $2 billion with a B was sent to North Carolina and Helene areas. Was that for infrastructure? Roads and bridges are critical. Well, here's the thing.
I have no clue.
What'd you say, Mark?
I have no clue.
Yeah. I mean, what I do know is that when I'm in Swannanoa, it still looks like a bomb went off.
Yeah.
So,
well, I understand some of this stuff goes down to the state level. Where's the governor? And what North Carolinians need to do is run that governor off.
Yeah.
Run him off.
Yeah. All right. So Celeste Gray, our viewer Celeste said, think of how many people are today. I don't know what you mean, Celeste. Think of how many people are today because of your viewers, Michelle. Praise God for your ministry. Oh, 8 today. They 8. Yeah. Yeah. We literally are taking tens of thousands of dollars at this point worth of groceries. And so this last month we took over $30,000 worth of food, mostly food. I mean, it was maybe a few thousand in love offerings and other supplies, but for the most part, it's a lot for food. And a lot of it was children, school-age children that needed good lunches, because what they're doing is throwing 2 pieces of bread and what they're calling cheese in between those 2 pieces of bread and giving them to the kids and telling them that's their lunch. And so we were being begged for food that would be good for school lunches for the children. And so we really loaded them up on that. That's how we ended up spending $30,000 on food. And so, because usually it's around 20. And so we were able to do that. So and viewer Natalie says it's double time with the chemtrails too. They want to have full control of the weather in 2025, signed in 2017. Yeah, I mean, we can see it. And we've even had the guy come forward that was out of California saying, oh yeah, I was hired to do it. I work with a company out of California and hired to spray chemtrails throughout the country.
and every one of these pilots that are doing that should be rounded up and arrested for crimes against humanity.
Hang them.
Yep.
Yeah. Treason.
Yep.
Treason.
Yep.
People were put to death a long time ago for a whole lot less.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
right.
That's
Yep.
where I stand.
Yep.
Carol says, yes, I was thinking that the money for Florida could be used for hurricane victims. I also wonder if DeSantis is covering himself ahead of some exposure. I'm so past that whole stuff.
Yeah.
He looks
I don't
different
know.
anyways, but I'm so past that. And look, if my whistleblowers are anywhere near accurate, there is nothing good about these people. It doesn't make sense to me that they're even still even in the news. It just doesn't even make sense to me. What appears to me is most liberals drive Teslas for EV, and yet they are doing this crazy stuff. Yeah, did you see that about Sheryl Crow sending her Tesla off, that she was done with her Tesla? Yeah, and she's, Wokeville. If President Trump referred to Jezebel as fabulous, that reminds me of his reference to HRC as beautiful Hillary. Is it possible that Jezebel has already been replaced? Doesn't seem like it to me. I met her years ago.
Okay, let me say something on that. Even if
Yes.
she has been,
It's
the
another
damage
side.
is still being done
Yeah.
because spiritually, nothing's getting done. And can I take a question from the audience here real quick? I just saw it.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's Chloe 5781 says, "What is the job description of the faith office?" Well, thank you for asking, Chloe. Because that would be my question too. What is the job description? Is it to advise the president on faith issues? Because if it is, it's already flunked, as far as I'm concerned.
How is it being allowed with the demonic crap in the schools, these clubs, and how
Right.
is it being allowed in the Kansas State Capitol?
That's right.
How is that being allowed?
Right. Exactly. That's my point. We just had a whole show describing what that faith team should be doing and dealing with, and nothing. Crickets.
Okay, here's what's really unusual for me too, okay? Let's just wait a second here. So if you think about it, Mark, we have a president who we all know for two words famously, you're fired, right?
Right.
So this man is so outspoken and such a fighter and like a scrapper, right?
Right.
And I could see him totally telling somebody, no, you're not doing that in any state capital. You're not going to, sit down and be quiet. And so, but instead, these people are being allowed to do this. And you know what? I wonder sometimes if he's sitting back on some of this because he's saying, okay, he's only one man. And is he waiting for we, the people, to get up and to fight?
I have said that for years, that he's probably waiting for us, like the white hats are waiting for us to get up and fight. But the problem is this: a lot of these issues, especially all these issues we're talking about on today, are spiritual issues. So at some point, the church is going to have to get cleaned out. I mean, literally cleaned out. And so these guys are going to have to go by the wayside. They're just going to be gone. He's going to have to expose them at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I go back to, remember when he first came into office, there was this thing where he was looking out the window, I think, of Trump Tower, and he was talking to the leaders and saying, you look down there and see all those people, they have more power than you do. And he was talking about the 501c3, I believe, at the time. And so he obviously knows something. Now, how much does he know of it? I don't know. I know he's brilliant. I get all that. But how much of the spiritual things does he truly know? Because to me, at this point in the game, if America's going to heal, you cannot heal it with lies. You cannot heal it with a psyop. So the way America's going to heal is when the people literally see with their own eyes and hear it with their own ears is justice. Righteousness and justice is the foundation of God's throne. The people need to see justice. They need to see these people walked publicly in handcuffs, whatever the case may be. People need to see Paula White busted for whatever it is that she's done or doing, or fired. Heck, I'd fire her. I'd escort her out of the White House myself personally. Quite frankly, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But the point is, this stuff needs to happen. Enough with the games. It's got to move forward so that healing can take place, because the enemy is taking too much ground right now.
Yeah. All right. So, what is it called? Somebody put it in the chat for me. And Ron, pull it over for me. What is it called that April 2nd is supposed to be Liberation Day?
Yep.
So Liberation Day, liberation. What's the definition of liberation? Is that where the slaves are being set free? The captives are being set free?
Yeah.
And so for me, it'll be interesting to see what exactly is supposed to be happening on April the 2nd, or April the 2nd. What is it that's supposed to be happening? What makes it Liberation Day? Just because I guess this is the beginning of, because we're doing the tariffs.
Right.
And so, and you're going to have so much money, you won't know what to do with it. Well, show me the money. And the first place we'll start with is doing away with taxes.
Yeah, I don't know, because again, we've had so much stuff hyped up over the years. And
I don't think it'll be announced on them.
It's gonna, it ends up being a nothing burger for the most part. And
Every time.
I get every time, and so it's like people, it's kind of hard for people to even get excited right now, because there's been so many psyops. Just like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So you want to be able to get excited about something on April 2nd, that the people are going to get liberated. Maybe their sovereignty is going to be coming back. Maybe he's going to get rid of the corporation. He's going to announce it, that the corporation is coming down. I have no clue. But we can sit here and guess all day long what it's going to be, but then it's just going to be the reciprocal tariffs, or whatever it is going into effect. Okay, great. That's great. It's going to take time for money to start flowing in, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But this is my point, is that so many psyops have been played for so long. Everybody's going, okay, well, Liberation Day, this is great, but let's hear it first.
I just want to be liberated.
It shouldn't be that way, is my point.
Yeah.
We should be able to get excited about something and have it come to pass. You know what I mean? Truly get excited about something. But because they've been doing this for so many years, everybody's going, yeah, okay, Liberation Day. Let me see it first.
Well, I mean, how many
I'm not going to get excited about it until I hear it. What is it?
Yeah, show me. I mean, the last thing I saw, by the way, which a couple of weeks ago when I was on Twitter talking about this, and it's, oh, well, we're going to do it where there's no taxes on anybody, that makes less than $150,000. Well, it's still illegal for taxes to be taxing somebody who makes $150,000 or more. So that doesn't cut it. Like, this isn't, they have rights too. And so to me, it's just, we'll see where it goes. But I think I'm interested also to see about the Doge thing. So, that they keep getting all of this corruption and money found and all this stuff that's stopping. Did you see this about Michelle Obama, Big Mike? And so, apparently for years now, she's been getting, what was it, $120-something thousand a month or something crazy. I don't remember. And so, it's like, okay, I mean, a month, she's getting crazy money. And so I don't know. We'll see what happens, but what good does it do? Chris says, my question is, did Trump take down the 1871 Act? Great question.
That's what I was just talking about with the corporation. So
yeah, and it doesn't count until it's been announced, I guess. I don't know. But so is maybe this first step, he's really building up this Liberation Day. But just because you're building up these tariffs, I mean, we're still paying taxes is all I know. You know what I mean? So we're still being taxed. We're still being taxed on our property. We're still being taxed on our income. We're still being taxed on when someone dies and we inherit money. All of that. They tax us spending it, making it, when you die, giving it, whatever you got, you get taxed. And so, anyways, Doberman Mommy says, exactly, Michelle. If taxes are illegal, then it doesn't matter how much one earns. No taxes, period. So that's why that conversation that he's having is extremely concerning to me. But the fact that he's even entertaining doing that is extremely concerning to me. And so I don't like any of it. No. And I even tagged him in that and said, what about the people's rights that make more than $150,000? So Doberman Mommy said, well, he did say the power was being given back to the people. We have to learn what that means. Yeah, it's been years and we still don't know what it means. And that's the point. We should know what it means. And so where is the power? Well, because I'm not seeing it.
Well, and the other thing too is giving back the First Amendment rights. Well, that's not true. Because you and I both been talking about this. We're being suppressed the fire out of us. On Rumble, Truth Social, every social media platform out there. He even signed an executive order trying to unlock this stuff. None of it's worked. None of it has worked. I don't care if it is Truth Social or Rumble. They are censoring the fire out of me. I've been stuck at the same 28,000 followers on Truth Social for over a year. All I get is single females. This is where I believe the gatekeepers like Devin Nunes or Dan Bongino or whoever these guys are not allowing this information to get back to Trump. And if Trump truly knew, I just wonder just how much of this would really be going on. Because none of this information is getting back to him. I don't believe. If it is, and he's not doing anything about it, then we got a problem.
Yeah.
because he's the one that made promises kept, said this wasn't going to be happening on Truth Social. It's happening. It's happening to millions of us.
There's so many people too that have no idea anything's even going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the other thing. So you've got like half of the country who's like, oh, well, that's not really Elon. And, the queen was evil and she's gone and she was really a shapeshifter and, all of that. Right. And then you've got people that are like, Donald Trump. And so, Celeste is saying, so does the Vatican still own people and property? I haven't been told I'm freed.
Yep.
Have you?
No. If you're under a birth certificate, you're owned.
Yeah.
Everybody that I know of on this planet's got a birth certificate. You're stamped, bought, and paid for. You're collateral.
We're talking about it's 60 days in, and we're still bought and paid for.
Yeah.
We're still owned.
The birth certificate is actually a death certificate. It was to counteract what Christ did on the cross to give you the being born again. Period. It's actually a death certificate. It's not a birth certificate.
Well, that's why you have the straw man,
right? And
that's why your name is in all caps, just like your name is in all caps on your headstone. And so that's what the whole thing. That's right. That's absolutely it. And so it's a dead entity because as a living, breathing soul, as a man or a woman, your name is uppercase, lowercase. That's why all your government documents, like your driver's license, birth certificate, is supposed to be all caps. Some birth certificates aren't. Some are. It's interesting. Straw man still happening. Corporation. That's right. So people are, this is 5th generation warfare. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, I just don't want to hear about it. I want the chemtrails to stop and the taxes to stop and people leave me the crap alone. How about that?
True First Amendment right released. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stop suppressing the truth. You keep saying fight, fight, fight. How can you fight when you're being suppressed?
That's right. That's right. Viewer Celeste said my point until that changes. Exactly. Yeah. And so, that's where I'm at. Let's see it. I'm ready for some announcements and let's see it. So April the 2nd is Liberation Day. Okay, well, let's see the liberation. Let's see what April 2nd what happens. If it's just tariffs, that's not good enough. I'm just saying. If taxes go away from 150,000 or less, that's not good enough. Because again, we all have rights, and that includes no matter how much you make. That's not good enough. Like I think this goes back to what we were saying about the faith leaders thing, the advisory council. It's like, where is the fruit? Where are we at with this? All this Doge stuff to me, by the way, also, okay, so they're reporting all these numbers, all this fraud, all these people, blah, 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 story. Okay, because we got a great story we're going to share tomorrow too, and it's a good one. But it's like, okay, sounds great. I hadn't gotten a check in the mail. I hadn't gotten a refund, right? Have you gotten a rebate check? Have you? Okay. So again, it's like, where's all this money and what's going on? And by the way, rebate check is not good enough. Okay. It's not good enough. Stop taxes. Stop the taxing of the people. Stop it. And so until we see some fruit, all this is a bunch of talk.
Where's the fruit of the executive order he signed with the suppression? When it's his own app that's doing it.
Well, I had a meeting with Rumble, and when I asked about it, it's worse since then. So that's all I can say. Rumble is it's worse. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So
where's the fruit of the executive order? Nothing. It's gotten worse.
All right, guys. Well, let's see. It's been a great time.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. It's always an honor to be on your show, hon.
Oh my goodness. Any closing thoughts or any final words? Producer Ron and I are going to be going in a minute. So Lieutenant Mark Taylor, you got any final words for us?
Just be careful who you listen to. Pray for the president. I still believe that he's on a mission, that God's got him on a specific mission. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to make mistakes. I get that. We get that. But, look, but right now he is surrounded by evil. And sometimes evil can influence people in the wrong direction, as we have seen before. Even in the first administration, we saw that more than once. So we need to be praying for him, praying for his family to expose these guys. So.
Yeah, that's so good. Chris Avery says, I believe the money when I see it. Yeah, well, I just think that the thing about it is, I want people to walk away from today just being reminded, that we've got to look at the fruit that somebody or an entity is bearing. And so whether it's the faith leaders, what are they really accomplishing? If someone's asking for your money, like what we've been talking about, I've talked about a couple of different examples of that. It's like, okay, well, they've been asking for your money for years. What are they doing with it?
Right.
And so, what are they actually accomplishing for you? Where are the tangible? That's what I'm looking for. Tangible, the key word tangible. Where are the tangible benefits, the tangible results? It's just, I think what has happened over and over and over to all of us, is that these 501c3s, these nonprofit organizations, all these different psyops and things they've done to us for decades, they knew we were well-intentioned, good-hearted, big, heart people. Just like, what I think about, I've been thinking about here lately, Mark, do you remember when 9/11 happened and they had the big telethon at night, one night, it was like a Friday night. Do you remember that? They raised a bunch of money. It was when Kanye was standing with Baby Bush and he's like, they don't like black people or whatever he said. I don't even remember. And it was something crazy Kanye did. And so I just think back to that and I think about all the money they raised. And I still am like, well, did you ever meet a lady who was married to a firefighter that died that day, but got to stay in her house because of the money that was collected? What about North Carolina? Let's just talk about that. There was some big, huge concert. Where's that money? Like, who's being helped and, taken out of their cars or off the streets because of that concert? You see what I'm saying? Like, I just want to know some results here.
Right. Yeah. You want to see tangible results. I get it.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'll tell you what, who else does? The people living in their cars, the people living in tents, and the people who are still living in a home that hasn't been rebuilt or even repaired. And so look at what your sister's dealing with. When did that happen?
Right. That happened, back in
6 months ago?
Helene, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
same storm that North Carolina did her in.
Oh, okay. So there you go. So yeah. So see, and then it's the whole round thing, like the little hamster wheel, like what happened with Jenica in North Carolina that you were explaining about your sister. So she gets on that where they say, "Oh, you got to call this person," and then you call that entity, and they tell you to call this person. Oh, yeah, there's nothing we can do. Our hands are tied. You got to call, and so she gets no help from anybody.
Right.
And we hear it over and over and over and over and over. And so that's one of the things I've been noticing. And so, again, but then you got people with their hands out going, give me your money. But what are you getting? And so that's why I'm asking people to take a step back and really look before you give money to somebody, what they're actually doing for you. And what are the results? If somebody's been, Elizabeth Gold claims she's been fighting for us for 5 years for our medical freedoms. Well, what's changed? Are you any more free medically? I mean, I'm still hearing of hospitals that won't see patients until they get the shot. Oh, you need a surgery, but not unless you've got the COVID shot.
Right.
So where's the freedom?
Right.
What has she done? What has she really accomplished? All right. Thank you, Lieutenant Mark Taylor.
Thank you for having me.
Today. All right. Thank you so much. All right. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Woo, we had a lot we covered today. I told you at the very beginning we were going to have a lot. Let's see here. I've not heard of anyone receiving firsthand assistance from any of those fundraisers. So, viewer Celeste is out of North Carolina, was affected by there. So there you go. There you go. So you haven't heard of anyone receiving firsthand assistance from any of those fundraisers. And I know also that viewer Celeste has also been in contact with FEMA. So FEMA, also from an insider with FEMA, and then FEMA as somebody who was affected by Hurricane Helene. So there you go. So not hearing of anybody getting any help. That's why it's so important what we're doing. And now I understand, I think I shared that when we started collecting money, I thought, okay, well, it's just for some generators. We'll help a few people get some generators for their home. And if we could just raise $7,500 because $10,000 seemed like too big of a number, and thought, well, I might not even have to go to North Carolina. And then it was like, and if I do, then maybe once. And now here we are, we're planning our 7th trip. But gosh, it's just now I learned so much about how badly the help is needed, like how bad the situation is. This old man says, Michelle, I love how you're asking for the proof that help is reaching the people. Yeah, I think that is important. I think that it's important that If somebody's asking for your money and they say they've been fighting, well, great. What have you accomplished so far? We're again judging it by the fruit. Where's the fruit? And so what have you done? And so you say you're fighting for medical rights and okay, well, what medical rights have you got that's changed? Or what have you done for me in 5 years? I mean, what exactly have you accomplished? And so I think those are things that we have to be asking and thinking critically. I'm just not going to be part of it anymore. Not giving my money to just anybody. And I'm certainly not rounding up at the grocery store at the cash register. You know what I mean? Is that the grifts are so everywhere. I go into a restaurant yesterday and they have a huge thing, a big old life-size thing about giving to St. Jude and all the places your money's going. And it's like, okay. So you can't even go out to eat and stand in line to get a table without more of the marketing about St. Jude and all that. And I've told you, I just don't see a lot of the fruit. I mean, at this point, just like with St. Jude, I think something's up with that too. A lot is up with that. But let's say, they collect all this money. Well, we should all be knowing at least 2 or 3 people that have been helped by St. Jude by now, but I don't know any. And so there you go. Celeste, the viewer Celeste says the Michelle Moore Show delivers the fruits. Well, we try. We certainly try. And so, and you know what, really it's the viewers. And so we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing if it wasn't for the viewers that get behind it and have the heart that you all have. And so, in fact, I've noticed a little bit here lately, even I was thinking about it. I guess it was maybe Friday. I noticed that some people, I just noticed the names, recognizing names that some people have given more than once, just even to North Carolina and our efforts with that in East Tennessee. And so it's just been amazing. And it's just, thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you for helping us help those that need it so badly. And we've done some great stuff. We really have. And so we, meaning the viewers and the Michelle Moore Show, we make a great team. All right. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed today's show. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll see you right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
Toxic chemicals are everywhere, even in products we've used for generations. Now there's a replacement solution, Godly Granny. Godly Granny products are nutraceutical, clean products with purpose. All our products like skin creams, bath bombs, lip scrubs, deodorants, and more are free of the Godly Granny 5 Dirty Dozen list. That's 60 harmful chemicals many other companies use that you'll never find in our products. Go to godlygranny.com today. Be sure and use the discount code Michelle10 at checkout to receive 10% off your entire order.
Trying to get healthier is full of can'ts.
Come on, Grandma, come play. Come play with us, Grandma.
I can't move. So you go to the doctor.
Your body can't figure this out. So take this, and this.
Because your body can't. But is it true your body can't? Maybe your body can. All you need is a little support. Wave Watch is a wearable device that uses sound wave therapy to help your body heal itself. Studies are showing that all cells in our bodies resonate at unique frequencies, and specific sounds can stimulate them. Your body can deal with pain, so you can play hard.
WaveWatch comes with a 1-year manufacturer's warranty for defects and flaws, and you can upgrade to an additional warranty for water damage and breakage. Go to WaveWatch.com. Be sure to use the discount code Michelle100 at checkout to receive $100 savings on.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful here, and I'm here with my gold guy, Dr. Mike Fulges, a silver and gold expert. Hey, Mike, what do we have here?
Today I have a few, actually 50, 2025 $5 gold American Eagles. Each is a 10th ounce of gold and is a starter coin for investors.
So this is the way people can invest. They can buy a whole bunch of coins and just hold on to them, right?
Correct. They have these in 10th ounce, quarter ounce, half ounce, and 1 ounce sizes.
Now, if they want to buy them now, wait a couple of years and sell them again so they have liquidity, can they do that with you?
Immediately. We buy millions every month back from clients.
So you really are the gold guy.
That's why we're America's gold expert.
Did you know your cell phone emits radiation that has been linked to increased risk of certain types of cancers? This is why manufacturers include hidden warnings to keep your phone away from your body. And what's worse is that children are more susceptible to the potentially damaging effects. Safe Sleep for cell phones is a case specifically designed to block radiation. Its shielding technology integrated into the case has been tested in a third-party FCC accredited lab to block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation emitted by your phone. It also functions as a stand for watching videos and comes in a magnetically detachable style for some devices. Safe Sleep also offers anti-radiation cases for tablets and laptops and has free shipping in the U.S. plus discounted worldwide shipping is available. Go to truthtalkamerica.com today and click on the Safe Sleep banner on the home page. Use the discount code FIRST10 at checkout for 10% off.
For Michelle's social media links, go to MichelleMooreShow.com.